Welcome to Global Shift, where we track the global transition away from the neoliberal world disorder towards a new emerging planetary order and help to unpack and make sense of the latest news and geopolitical events. This is a brief announcement on the Global Shift website to announce articles published on the 11th, the 13th and the 29th of June, which I didn't manage to announce on this platform as I normally do. The 11th of June article focused on the so-called Biden proposal for a ceasefire in Gaza, which was subsequently integrated into United Nations Security Council Resolution 2735, the first time that the United States has pushed and so voted for and did not veto a firm resolution to essentially end the conflict in Gaza. This happened, as I explained, because of pressure from what I call the imperial interests in the United States, who are trying desperately to rescue their relationship with Saudi Arabia within the old framework of empire, within which Israel was supposed to be the garrison state that would be the kind of deputy sheriff in the region, and that would take a load off the American hegemon's shoulders, allowing it therefore to pivot to Asia to confront China. The 13th of June article showed how this resolution was undermined by Zionist interests, who are implacably behind Netanyahu's bid to become a sort of lifetime fascist pope at the head of a new theocracy in Israel that he's been constructing over the past years with the help of extreme right-wing elements led by people like Ben Gvir and Smotrich. As I have explained in many articles before, the Trojan horse in the Biden administration who is sabotaging any attempt at sensible negotiations for a ceasefire is Secretary of State Blinken. His grandfather, Maurice Blinken, was one of the people who convinced US President Truman to create the Israeli state in the first place in 1948. So he is actually Zionist royalty. His allegiance isn't to the interests of America, but to those of the Israel lobby, interests of the Israel lobby that demand unquestioning loyalty to Netanyahu's prospective papacy. For anyone who has read the 29th of June article before this video, they may want to reread it with additions that I have made. The 29th of July article unravels the consequences of all of this in the context of the fact that the Arab nations previously central to the American empire have themselves pivoted to Asia, or more exactly to China, for their trade and future development. And in the context of the fact that they have repaired their relations with Iran and the axis of existence in a remarkable peace deal in March 2023, which has created the environment for a new diplomacy that we have today. This diplomacy has stood the test of the current fraught atmosphere around the Gaza war. This complete change in the Arab world will make it extremely hard for imperial interests in the United States to revert to old norms in the region. However, Netanyahu's reconstruction of Israel as a genocidal theocracy will make that even more difficult, if not impossible. Israel is truly isolating itself in the region as it is in the world, and thus any kind of role it might play there in the future is in doubt. Meanwhile, the military security establishment in Israel itself is up in arms and is opposed to Netanyahu's political reconstruction of Israel, as they call it, in an open letter they've written to the New York Times, which is addressed to members of the US Congress, and asks them actually to disinvite Netanyahu and stop the speech that he intends to give to Congress on the 24th of July. Those imperial interests in the United States that are seeking to repair their relationships in the Middle East are incensed with Netanyahu's intent to attack Biden in his speech, while playing for time with his war, allowing Trump to come to power to back his papal ambitions. The problem with Netanyahu's plan, though, is that Israel's armed forces and its economy are being whittled away to almost nothing in the process. His plan to escalate against the Hezbollah in Lebanon has been quashed by the Pentagon when its experts told Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant in no uncertain terms two important things. One, that Israel would not survive a future war with Hezbollah in Lebanon, and two, that the United States would not be able to help. Not because it wouldn't want to help. Of course, the United States would always come to Israel's rescue if it was in danger. But because technically and logistically the Pentagon didn't have the capacity to counter any future attack from Lebanon in light of the configuration of weaponry Hezbollah now had developed. Meanwhile, the Arab Gulf states, in their new mindset over regional relations, have decided that Hezbollah is not, as far as they are concerned, a terrorist organization. It is, they say, a legitimate quasi-state actor with legitimate grievances, and any future action it takes against Israel has to be viewed from that perspective. So the Arab consensus has shifted and promoted Hezbollah from terrorist organization to freedom fighter. And this has been done formally in an announcement by the Arab League. The implications of all this are obviously considerable. I post links to the 3 articles I mentioned in the video description box below. This will be the last video, and these articles, the last articles that I will publish for the time being, until we take up the story again in the run-up to the American elections in November. Expect something, therefore, in late October. The reason for this hiatus is that I think we are entering a period of geopolitical fog, and that America is checkmated in the Middle East because of Israel's hijacking of its foreign policy. This has to be sorted out internally in the United States between its factions. So I'm taking a pause from the Middle East, just like I did a year ago from events in Ukraine. Then I posted an article on NATO's defeat in Ukraine. I did that on the 3rd of July 2023, because it was patently obvious at that time that the United States and NATO had been checkmated in Ukraine. All we've had ever since is just grinding war with more and more deaths all the time. All in all, the Biden administration has been a disaster politically, but also and especially morally, as I explain in the 29th of June article. It will be interesting to see how America receives the prospective Israeli Pope on the 24th of July, how the Democratic National Convention in Chicago fares on the 19th of August, and how the elections go. Thank you for listening to all my videos and for watching, for reading my articles. Any comments, queries, please email me on info@globalshift.com, and thank you again. Bye for now.